Good evening.
Good evening.
I've got the Christmas tree in shop because it is Christmas. Happy Christmas. We've broken up for school today. There is masses of exhaustion in the house, but that's okay because it's Friday night and we have watched Doctor Who. And I have to say, oh my gosh, you are kidding me, dog. I have to say, I found that absolutely thrilling. Now, there's no point going on too much about the past, but my recollection of this story from back in the day was that it was not much cop. And as a result, whilst always the opportunity to watch Doctor Who is a joy, I wasn't holding out many big hopes for this one. But there is something about this new exposure to Capaldi and Clara that I'm finding exhilarating. There are issues with this story. I think the fundamental issue with this story is I find the resolution to be mawkish in the extreme. And that's not just to do with the sort of premise of it, but the way that it's filmed. I mean, that shot of Clara crawling through the ductwork stretched my suspension of disbelief quite hard. And those moments with the Doctor convincing Rusty to see the good in the world. There's something about the way it's filmed. There's something about the way it's structured. It doesn't work for me, but we're going to move straight past that because there's so much to enjoy here. Don't want to go deep on the Daleks, but I genuinely felt the Daleks in this story were it's a scarier Dalek story. Okay, I think the general premise of the Dalek is used really effectively well here, and as they should be. You know, I think to a certain extent, I was considering this the other day, the more the Daleks crop up in non-Dalek stories, a very awkward phrase there, but for example, Matt Smith's last story, yes, having the Daleks and everybody else in that gives it the gravitas and the impetus. In the Pandorica opens and all that, throwing the Daleks and everybody else, yes, but the Daleks are enough of a force on their own that you should not need anything else. So it's nice here to have a proper Dalek story. Humans, Daleks. I didn't catch what era of Doctor Who, the Doctor Who chronology this is set in, but this could easily have fitted in around Frontier in Space. This could easily have fitted around Death to the Daleks. Brilliant. Absolutely loved it. Fantastic. So the whole Dalek stuff. But the thing that really makes this story pop, and that I didn't appreciate the first time round, is the theme of the Doctor rediscovering himself, having this low-level crisis of confidence. I think I could go overboard on the idea that this is the Doctor's first run round again. You know what I mean? This is the equivalent of the first Doctor. And I think, especially knowing what's to come, it would be somewhat problematic to start to over-dwell on that. But it is quite telling. Was there a reference to the first Doctor in this? Did I miss that? There was. I'm sure there was a reference to the first Doctor in this. Maybe there was. I used to run, I was scared, or something like that. And then I met you, yes. So it is drawn explicitly in this story. And the fact that, and crikey, you know, we do put an awful lot of weight on those first few episodes of Doctor Who, Unearthly Child, The Daleks, and then The Edge of Destruction. But there is no doubt, especially with hindsight, that whichever episode it is, episode 6 of Doctor Who, overall, when he first meets a Dalek, is one of the most fundamental things that sets the trajectory of the Doctor's character in motion. And he becomes the Doctor in part because of his exposure to the Daleks. Brief aside, Winnie asked me when the Time War started the other day, and I do think, I'm certainly of the belief, and I always remember getting shouted down by a Doctor who fell on the internet about this a long time ago, that the effects of the Time War retroactively change what has gone on. So our perception of the Daleks, the first Dalek story, is actually different to how the Doctor feels it now, because obviously the Time Lords knew about the Daleks before he got... Anyway, that's by the way. So the simple fact is that Capaldi's Doctor is a new first Doctor in a weird sort of way. And as a result, that truculent grumpiness is, well, when viewed through that prism, I find it much more comfortable getting on board with that, especially in contrast to the Matt Smith version. Winnie is struggling. Winnie is struggling with this Doctor.
I can tell.
Humphrey is loving this Doctor. Now,
That's because Humphrey is dark.
what does that say about my children? I don't know. So the fact that his second run through, we get a Dalek story, and that parallel between the Dalek and the Doctor is so clearly drawn. And of course, it's explicitly stated in the end, but you would make a good Dalek is, no, you are a good Dalek. Which other stories he said you would make a good Dalek?
It's definitely been said before.
It has been said before. But it's been said, yeah, maybe that's the detriment of this. He said, but the difference is you are a good Dalek. So there we go, the parallel. There are the Daleks and the Doctor. And depending on which side of the mirror you're looking, mirrors only really work on one side, but you know where I'm going with this.
I thought the best line
was
when he said, it's a good idea for a TV program, for a film, but not a good idea for a proctologist.
Well, this is the other thing. The dialogue in this is absolutely sparkling, and that is never more so than when Capaldi and Clara are just bouncing off each other. It's so fast. I mean, Smith talked fast, but whether it's editing...
Yeah, he's talking fast and Scottish.
Yeah, this is true. And also just the way that the both of them come at each other. Clara's character, now don't forget John made reference to this, didn't he? He found this development of the character problematic. I'm okay with her becoming a teacher.
And who?
Spears. It kind of made sense to me that she would become a teacher. I'm okay with that. But this confidence that she's got, and I love her interactions with Danny Pink. I really love her interaction with Danny Pink. I think she's absolutely adorable. But the lines like, you're a hobby, which I'm fine with Clara, actually. I was never okay with this idea that the companion had a life and then chipped in, but I'm okay with this. The lines where he's going on about you're an old woman now, and stay positive and all that, or whatever he said. And then, of course...
You're not a young woman anymore.
You're not a young
woman.
But then
telling yourself that.
The absolute killer, which is, I'm his carer. Yeah, she cares, so I don't have to. And it's weird because it's so clear that Clara is so pissed off with him, having to sort of like re-put together how he just does being the holistic side of being the Doctor. It's all very well saving the day, but you kind of have a responsibility to the people that you meet, and he's abjectly failing in that regard. I mean, when he lets, what's his name, Ross? When he lets Ross just die. Wow.
He was already dead. It wasn't his fault.
I know that, and you know that, but there are other doctors that would not be happy with that interpretation. There are other doctors that would not. I think Tom Baker would have found a way of making that work. Can you imagine Davison doing it? McCoy would have been fine with it. Can you really imagine, Tennant doing it? Probably not. Later Tennant. Anyway, so some of the dialogue between the pair of them is dazzling, like really, really dazzling. And yeah, I could not take a whole season worth of story with this tone. I could not take a whole season worth where all the stories are going so deep on the Doctor being a darker, bleaker prospect. But I can understand now, way better than I could however many years ago, why the Doctor's where he's at and how it is as an audience we can engage with this new version of the Doctor and still have a good time. Even though he does make me feel awkward. He makes me feel awkward, but gosh, I'm behind him. I am behind him. The bit at the start where she points the gun at him and he goes, no, do it properly. Wow, I was in for that. I'm really in for that. That works for me. So listen, really enjoyed that. Really, really enjoyed that. And I feel really positive about this new interpretation of the Doctor, and I am feeling much more buoyant than I think potentially I was going to feel because, I can just see this working. I can really see this working. Anything to add?
No.
No, nothing to add. Nothing at all to add. Happy Christmas. Bye-bye.